I'll sign it afterwards. Go ahead. Dave Thomas, RC Beach and Associates, so we're the municipal rep for Trillium Pumps, Flow Technologies, which is still flowway pumps. They also have several different other pump lines. They're located still same place, Fresno, California. They do have a repair facility in Houston, Texas, and I don't know, who does your repairs, but it's a long way to go to Houston for a repair. You probably got a good service shop in the area that does that type of work. So basically, you have a flowway pump. You got a GE motor, vertical solid shaft motor, and of course I got the screens on because we do have power to it. But you can see we have a mechanical seal. We got a 4-piece coupling. Four-piece John crane coupling. And so when I go to put this thing and prep it for a startup, it'd be just like if you were putting a new pump in or you're changing mechanical seals are clean for the mechanical seal. So I kind of headed off the painters yesterday and said, no, they had this painted before. I went ahead and took all the paint off of that, so you got a good surface sealing area. You do have a product flush seal for seal water, and once again a 4-piece coupling. So when I'm going to go ahead and say you had to pull the motor off, so the first thing you want to do, you want to loosen up your solid shaft coupling. So you want to go ahead and take these screws here, go ahead and loosen that, and it's going to go ahead and drop the impeller down. And you can take the spool piece off now, or you can do it after you pull the motor off. Just don't damage it. But you have 4 bolts up here too to pull the spool piece off. And what the spool piece is designed for, if you had to replace a mechanical seal, it gives you that distance there where you can go ahead and lift the seal off, put a new seal on. It's a cartridge seal. This type of seal here, I have to look at the number. It's not your 442 like we usually do, or the split seal, but it's a cartridge seal, and they have a nylock type cord, and that's what sets your distance for the seal. So before you let your loose, let me back up. Before you release anything, you have 6 sets of bolts. 3 of them hold the shaft sleeve, then 3 of them go directly to the shaft. And what I'll do is I'll take this seal over here, pass that around there if you can. So here's a new seal here, and we'll kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at. So this is what sets the distance of your seal, and they say to go ahead and save that, or it's just a wire tie, nylon tie you can use, an aftermarket. I got some in the truck. But what you can see is these holes here, you don't have to mess with these screws here. They're like a flathead design screw, but the 2 that you have, you'll see they have a hole on the inside going through the shaft, and the other one dead ends right into the shaft sleeve. So the first thing you want to do, you want to go ahead and take this and try to fish this back around inside the seal to go ahead and hold that distance. Then you want to go ahead and loosen all your little cap screws up. Go ahead and drop your impeller down. Then you can proceed with whatever work you want to do. New pump. So here I am. I've got 4-piece couplings. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to undo the coupling. You know what? Some guy at the factory or whatever, they're going to take these couplings apart, and the register fit could be tight. They're going to take a screwdriver and they're going to bink. Make sure, and I don't care if it's a new coupling or not, I'll take a flat file, I'll go all the way around the edge just to make sure, and I always pick up a few places where you can see a screwdriver's been in there. If you do that, you can prevent shaft run out and have to take it all back apart again. So I just start from one. I go ahead and I dress the shafts up real good, make sure the coupling slides up and down. Same thing here, make sure the coupling slides up and down, make sure all my surfaces are flat, no burrs. And then I go ahead and put it together. Once you put your new seal on, go ahead and leave it just a little bit loose here. You probably want to leave this off. What you want to do, you want to go ahead and seek the center after you get it all bolted up. it's advertised on the very front tag, your lift, it'll say 0.125. So I just take a small 125 shim, stainless steel shim, and I go ahead and thread this around till I get that 1/8 of an inch distance here. And then if you go to the next bowl hole, you don't want to tighten it, but you want to go ahead and loosen it up. So you don't want any tighter than that, but being looser is better. It's still going to hold its performance. I mean, all the way up to 1/4 inch or better, it'll hold its performance because you have a set of wear rings in there. So once you get that 125, then go ahead and take your bolts, put them up, snug them evenly around, bring it up tight. Go ahead and rotate it a few times. Let this go ahead and seek its center. Go ahead and do 180, 180. Go ahead and tighten these up, down snug. Go ahead and take the first screw for your shaft sleeve. It's going to be the one closest to this yellow sticker. So you go ahead and tighten these up evenly on both sides, all the way around. Then you come back and do the farthest away from the yellow sticker. Tighten those up around the shaft itself. Then what I always do is I always take my dial indicator, hook it up here in this area, give it a spin, make sure you're not running out anything more than 5/1000ths of an inch. So that's basically it. It should spin freely after you lift it up. Maintenance on this, on the pump itself, generally not really any maintenance to it. Except you probably want to keep a good log of maybe amperages at full load. If you have vibration equipment, go ahead and do some vibration readings on an annual basis just to compare. I will do it at startup when we finally get it as a system. I'll come in here and I'll take a full spectrum on all your pumps that we've provided for record. Motor itself, I guess you guys are pretty familiar with GE motors. It was kind of interesting because I worked for GE back in the day for 6 years. I was always constantly every 6 years looking for a job. It seemed like they were always closing shops. They closed like 20 something shops across the country back then. Closed our Tampa shop, and we were an apparatus service shop, so we serviced, you know, the whole drag line motors out in the mines and stuff. So it was a lot of good experience on learning how to do alignments before laser became available. We used to have to do it all by dial indicator, and it was a bear. You spent many lonely nights out there on a drag line. Motor itself, pretty easy. They got a special grease that they call for, and so I'm going. It's always troublesome because they're not going to put in the O&M any crossover. Trillium doesn't do that. Patterson's pretty good about it, and so I pulled up a site that was called GE Transportation. It goes into all their turbine oils. It goes into all their locomotive traction motors, goes into everything. So it's got that specified number. And if you go into the O&M itself, grease lubricated bearings. So you're going to be 1800 RPM and below. And I actually printed off a couple sheets this morning and I left them at the house. So re-grease every 2,000 hours operation, not to exceed 6 months. So that's your greasing interval there. So they also have easy operation, infrequent operation a year, severe continuous operation every 3 months, standard operation every 6 months. So, can I see that? Yeah. So this is actually in the O&M itself.
What are the grease specs?
So they'll have okay, so we'll get to the grease itself is a General Electric D6A 2C5. So you can spend quite a bit of time going on the internet. Now, what's the equivalent crossover? You never can really find that crossover. So I went into a GE publication and came up with a GE proprietary confidential information. It's got the specs on that. Ball and roller bearing grease tells you it's a lithium grease. So most of the US motors are a polyurea. You use a blue grease. So this is lithium, very important. You don't want to mix them up. So definitely a lithium number 2, and it goes further than that. Down at the bottom of this GE thing, it says source of supply Shell oil products, Albania RL2. Then it's got a chevron for a multi-fac AFB number 2. And if you go to the, so I went to the Shell multi-fac AFB2, and it's funny, down at the back page, that's a screenshot. See if I get the photos. Maybe I only have, I saved it as a file, but it's got 2 or 3 sheets. But you get to the back of the sheet, it says approved by GE, DA, blah, blah, blah. So it is an approved oil, but that's your two greases, I mean, that you can use. But it's a basic lithium number 2 high grade bearing grease. You don't want to use polyurea. Same thing with greasing any equipment. Shut it down, lock it out. You have a zert fitting here. I may need to tighten that up. Wow, that's okay. You got a vent over here. Go ahead and undo this. Go ahead and pump some grease into it. Let it on both ends. Go ahead and run it. Equalize some pressure. See if it's going to spit anything out, which I doubt. Probably take 10 years to do that. If it lasts that long, go ahead and tighten it back up and put it back into service. One thing I don't see is in their O&M is I don't think I saw a quantity of any type. So I'll have to take a look at that. But basically that's it. Operation, of course you can't run it dry. Make sure you have enough fluid. There's a minimum submergence in here in the drawing. And they'll have, that's why I like having a hard copy. Trying to see if they have anything about the quantity. Yeah, they don't really say anything about quantity in here. Kind of weird.
Is this going to be in a manual that we get?
You have probably, what, 3 or 4 manuals?
I believe 3 copies, hard copies. And
hard copies and electronic too.
So we'll have a copy that we know what to get? Because if they're asking for specific...
Well, it won't. My copy will not, our copies will be just like what Trillium sent. They won't say anything about the Shell Albania as far as a crossover. I mean, the Shell Albania.
I'll take it to our Shell dealer and have them cross.
There you go.
They do it all the time.
Okay. Yeah, just remember it's a lithium based type. Once again, you can't run it dry. It will have a full drawing in here, which will show components. God, they got 100 pages of safety in here. Of course, always lock out, tag out. You don't want to get caught up in a pump. I've had large stuff, 4160, go to lunch, come back, and all of a sudden the pump is running. It's like, how did that happen? Let's see if I got a drawing here. Drawing's good because the drawing itself is going to give you the weight. So you got a drawing here. It is going to show your minimum submergence, which is 22 inches from the bottom up. It gives you material list.
How long are these pumps? How deep do they go in?
They're 162 inches. 162 inches from the base down to the bottom. So you've got rubber bearings in between.
Yep.
SRB bearings. And the bearing retainers, you have 2. It gives you a basic construction of the pump and some materials.
Okay, cool.
I believe you have stainless steel impellers with bronze wear rings. Some of the features. That's about all I have on it. Design's 1300 GPM for 45 foot of head. So what we did here to go ahead and simulate, to give it a little functional testing yesterday on these two, we went ahead and throttled about 19.5 PSI, what it works out to be. So we were about 22 amps. But that's important. I mean, you can run it out to the right and run it to the left, but preferably you want to try to run around design. It's going to be interesting how everything's piped in. We finally get down to the very end of this to see where it actually falls, the pressure. And that's all I have. Do you have any questions? I've got a few cards here. And if you need any more cards, I got more out in the truck. If you have any questions later on for parts or anything like that, or need anything, just go ahead and call me or email me. But I live over in the Tampa area. Lived there all my life. Grew up in Tampa. St. Pete?
Yeah. Well,
yeah, we're over in our new office over in Clearwater now. Yeah, it's nice over there. We were over in Dunedin. Dunedin wasn't bad, no, but our office was kind of old and